Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check.
Hey, John, this is coming out of his computer first. So we're not going to have audio. Turn that down. Does he need audio in there? Did you mute it?
Check, check, check. Here I am. Check. Perfect. Check.
You start here. That's going to be law. And then once everyone gives their presentation and we turn it over. This audio is going to the chat right now.
I think it's just all the visits in general.
I thought we were muted.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Harvey. I'm a public information officer on the Border 2 incident. Tonight we are here to present some information to you about the current status of the fire. We're going to discuss the upcoming weather situation, and we're going to get some comments from one of the incident commanders. In the chat of the YouTube, you'll be able to ask questions of the personnel that are here, and we'll get those answered for you as best as we can. We're going to start with some numbers on this fire. We are currently at 6,625 acres with 10% containment, and we have 1,177 personnel assigned to the fire. To start with now, we're going to have an operational briefing.
Good evening, Patrick Walker, Operations Section Chief for Border Fire Number 2. So this fire right now, we are making a lot of good progress, especially on the City of Chula Vista side where we have a lot of line has been put in there. We have fire crews, as the community can see, working through there. They're going to be in there day and night, reinforcing those lines. Coming around Otay Lakes Road, we continue to do the same thing. It's looking real good here around Skydive San Diego. We had some engines in there making sure that that's buttoned up. We're also utilizing that for a helicopter landing area for our folks. So we go around here, we go into Pio Pico. That's been an area of concern on here. It's in our division Whiskey on the fire side, but that's the community of Pio Pico off there off Otay Lakes Road. Crews have been in there, been hitting that with day and night flying helicopters, and we continue to do so until that's dead out. Right now, due to the weather that's coming in, that's limiting our access to the copters, but it is improving our ability to knock or snuff that fire out. So we're going to continue to work in there and see the folks there. As you come down here, Doghouse Junction at the peak of Otay Mountain, crews continue to work in there. It's given us some challenges off of Mini Wawa Truck Trail, but nothing that we haven't been able to contain. So we are getting some good construction in there and containment on that to keep that fire from moving towards the community of Dulzura or down into Maroon Valley or towards the country of Mexico. Come around this side, the back side or south side of Otay Mountain. Still some open line, but we're working in there. Crews have been working diligently in there. It's very arduous terrain, but they've been getting a lot of good work in there up and down. We are going to be flying, helicopter flying some folks in there tomorrow, most likely, to complete that task right there. Again, this is another, well, this whole fire actually, that the weather, the moisture going up is helping us out. Come down into Hotel. Same thing. It's a continuation of getting that line completed, flying some crews in there. We've worked some bulldozers in there to make that good fire line, that holding line in there around down to the City of Chula Vista, down to the dam on the Otay Reservoir. So it's holding in here, holding in here. We have some open line in here, but we're going to get that. There's no structures down here. There's no infrastructures. And we have some good plans should that come up out of there. I don't expect that to happen. Overall, making very good progress. The crews are staying engaged. They're out there night and day. That's the end of the operations plan.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Pangburn. I'm a fire behavior analyst on the Border 2 incident. Starting off with a weather update. As you all know, we had a very, very dry start to the water year, the driest on record. That has created some very challenging fire environment situations for us. However, that will change starting tomorrow. You saw the high level clouds start to come in today. If you looked outside, that is going to build into some precipitation. We are expecting some rain over the fire area, especially into the afternoon and evening hours. While that will help with the small fuels, the dried grasses, leaves, and smaller debris, it will not affect the live vegetation, the brush, the shrubs, the Tecate cypress up at the high elevations. Those types of things will not be impacted by the incoming rain. So there is still a threat to the fire environment, and firefighters will continue to work diligently to ensure that we take care of those threats and try to minimize any potential future fire spread. This rain should last until approximately Tuesday, and it is supposed to be kind of an on and off event, a little bit of rain, stopping for a few moments, and then some more coming back in, which will significantly help with the firefighting efforts. Thank you.
My name is Lieutenant Mike Gonzalez. I'm with the San Diego County Sheriff's Office. We're working closely with our, we are working closely with our partners with CAL FIRE and the California Highway Patrol to evaluate modifications to any road closures and any evacuation orders or warnings. Our detention facilities in the East Mesa area have returned to normal operations. At this time, visits are going to be restricted, and we'll be reevaluating that tomorrow morning, and that's due to spot fires that are occurring in the area.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Rick Johnson. I'm one of the incident commanders for the Border 2 incident. So as you heard tonight, we have over 1,000 people that are suppressing this fire, as well as we have resources coming down from throughout the United or throughout California, coming down to assist us. With the suppression efforts today, we saw minimal growth. The number one thing that we want to do, as long as it's safe to do so, is to get everyone back into their homes safely. So that is going to be the number one priority, to get everyone home. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now take some questions from our viewers on YouTube.
All right, we have a question about the status of opening Highway 94. As I mentioned earlier, we're constantly reevaluating any road closures with California Highway Patrol and CAL FIRE. There can be rocks and debris in the road, and we need to make sure all that gets cleared out before we open any of the road closures up.
Thank you. We have a question for operations now.
The question says, what's the next order? Actually, two questions. What's the next order of operations? The next order of operations is to continue to build on the success that we've had out there in the field, continue reinforcing those lines, focus on any of the hot spots, handle any of the spot fires, which as of right now we have none. Continue to work with our cooperators and just reinforce this thing. And when it comes to order operations, we have the folks that are out there on 24-hour shifts. They're going to be out all night tonight. They're going to get relieved by another set of firefighters of these 1,100 we have here. We'll come out there tomorrow morning. We will start this process over and run 24-hour shifts until this fire is deemed to be able to turn over back to San Diego County for CAL FIRE. The next steps in the operation, it's kind of broad-based answer that is we'll continue to have these meetings. We have folks in here. Obviously, we have folks out in there, contingents of folks out there. You see the base camp here at Snapdragon Stadium. That is to support all the operations of the folks out there. So the majority of folks are out there. There'll be additional meetings tomorrow morning. Everybody will come in here. They'll get briefed and they'll depart here back out to the fire line tomorrow. One thing I didn't mention is we are working with Border Patrol as well. They're back in here helping the firefighters maintain a safe area out on the border. Hopefully that answered the question. I do not anticipate this fire affecting Chula Vista or East Lake with the exception of some of that smoke. In regards to Chula Vista, the city of Chula Vista's fire crew is out here. They're engaged. They're going to be out here tomorrow in this area, assisting CAL FIRE and all of our cooperators on continuing to get containment on this fire.
There's a question, when will air quality improve? Great question. We have the wind coming out of the south and southwest throughout most of tomorrow, so it'll be pushing the smoke away from the heavily populated area. Unfortunately, the outskirts of Dulzura will receive a little bit of that smoke impact coming from the fire. However, sometime into roughly mid to late afternoon, we should have had sufficient moisture drops to come down to be able to start to move that particulate matter out of the air. And so in general, we are expecting substantial improvement in air quality around tomorrow afternoon and continuing overnight into the following day.
Next question is going to be, the fire is only 10% contained. Where is the 10% contained? This fire is very challenging due to the fact that it's very hard to make access to on the Otay Mountain. So a lot of containment that we are talking about, 10% containment, is around the lake there, as well as some portions of the around the lake area. Next question is, what can the public do to help? Is continue following the CAL FIRE social media, as well as we have a shelter in place over in to be able to help with Red Cross and everything over in Cuyamaca College.
Okay, we received a question about where can the public get information and updates about the fire? I would encourage everybody to subscribe to both Sheriff's Office social media and CAL FIRE's social media. We coordinate with them on releases, including the app for Alert San Diego, Genesis Protect, and Watch Duty.
Further questions for operations?
There's several questions here. I'll be able to fold two of these into one that'll help out. So first question was, what was the delay in getting aircraft on the fire? There was no delay in getting aircraft on the fire. I was the initial responder. I was the first firefighter on scene of this. So I was the initial incident commander. This is my home turf of where I work as the battalion chief that covers this area. So myself, the fire engine out of Dolzura Fire Station, CAL FIRE, we were the first ones there. But incorrect, we weren't the first ones there because our aircraft were the first ones there at a Ramona Air Attack Base, along with the 2 copters out of Gillespie Heliattack Base. Already going to work, dropping retardant to build. What the next question is the containment process. So as a containment process, the incident commander, Chief Johnson, talked about containment numbers. Let's just make this just a perfect circle. So if you get the percentage of that perfect circle is how we're going to find our containment numbers. So how do we get that? Well, first of all, we came in here, we started with getting the aircraft in there to start getting some containment on that. Then we come in and we put in the hose lays. We get the firefighters put in the fire hose, pulling it up and down the hills. They charge it. Absolutely no water issues up here. We have multiple water tanks along here, along this border area of Otay Mountain to Tecate. CAL FIRE keeps about 80,000 gallons of water in reserve up there. We tapped into about 30,000 gallons of that to fight this fire, and we continue to keep supporting that. So now once we get some containment to make it safe, then we bring in our hand crews, bringing those men and women in there to start cutting actually down to bare mineral soil to remove that vegetation, dead, dying, or live, to get around it. Some of these areas are so treacherous and hard to get to that we're going to have to fly those folks in there. We continue to do that, and we start building that containment around that circle I was telling you. So we're able to do that here. Obviously, the fire burned down to the water, so it's completely out there. So we can say that that fire right there is 5 to 10% contained. If you go around up here, same thing. It burned down to the asphalt on Otay Lakes Road. Did not burn down to the asphalt vigorously. It backed down there. We had fire apparatus down there, fire engines with hoses. Each fire engine has 500 gallons of water, about 15 to 2,000 feet of fire hose to put that fire out. So they did that. But there are some things that happen. It did start to come to Pio Pico, and I'll talk about that here in the next question. But we continued to build that containment. Since we had used the aircraft with the fire retardant, we had got fire retardant all the way down the hill, down to Otay Lakes Road, and then worked it around this way. So due to safety and just absolute common sense, the air tankers, the fixed wing planes, they do not work in the same general area as the helicopters. So the air tankers were high level up here, getting that containment because the fire started up here, and we call that the heel of the fire where it started. So it started at, this is the heel. So we worked air tankers on one side, and then helicopters on the other side. And throughout the days, we'll switch places on who needs to be where. That's 100% has to do with safety. We found it extremely effective. So if you get the aircraft in here, they put retardant down, and then you bring it back with the helicopters, and they pick up the hot spots. We'll continue to do that. Then you'll start to see that the aircraft, the fixed wing, are not used anymore. It's because we got retardant around the fire. Sometimes we'll bring them back out if we find a smoke and we want to what's called box it in, or basically put a square of retardant around it, and we'll bring them back out. The hard work, the arduous work has to do with our fire crews, the men and women you see in the green and the red buses. They're coming out there. There's 20 men and women crews get out there, and they're working day and night, scraping down to mineral soil. We have our engine companies, the CAL FIRE, all of our engines out there, putting in the hose through there. Some of these areas are so steep that we can't get enough pressure to get to the top. So folks are carrying bags of water, 5, 10 gallons up there to put those hot spots out. I want to continue to lose anybody because this is what I do every day. Is we just continue to do that, continue to put the fire out, catch all the hot spots. We use air assets that go over and make flights and see if we have hot spots, and a lot of other things that we do. One issue we had today that I would like to make clear to the public is we had somebody fly a private drone on the west side of this fire. And by doing that, we had to bring the helicopters off for about 20 or 30 minutes. So it is imperative that folks do not fly drones anywhere around this fire area. I would say I wouldn't even put a drone up in the air if you live in East Lake, Hotel Ranch, Dolzura. No drones, please. That's really going to help us out. The last question I have was, is there any damage to Pio Pico? There's no damage to Pio Pico that I'm aware of or been made aware of. I was in there. I've been in and out of there. I was in there today. I didn't see any damage. The fire did backburn down to it. We put some bulldozer line around it and out towards the south side of Pio Pico. So hopefully that explains how we contain these fires.
The question is, are we worried about winds blowing to the west now? Not at the moment, no. The forecast is for winds to come from the west, moving toward the east. And if you recall, Chief Walker, when he discussed his operational briefing at the beginning of this area had received the most attention at first, and he perceives no future threat to the community of Chula Vista and East Lake. And so the winds are not going to be pushing the fire toward the west. Rather, they're going to be coming out of the south and southwest, and then later in the day shifting with a more westerly push. That means from the west, pushing toward the east.
We received a question if the juvenile detention facility on East Mesa, which is the East Mesa Juvenile Detention Facility that's operated by the County of San Diego Probation Department, if it is being threatened. And the latest update we got from CAL FIRE was no, that it's not being threatened.
So we have a couple questions here. One is, do we need to worry about mudslides? We have a couple of experts out right now looking at the soils, and we'll be evaluating the soils to make sure that if there is any mudslide concerns, it will be mitigated. But we do have experts out there looking at that right now. The next one is, why are updates not provided more regularly? We have public information officers throughout the community trying to get that information out, as well as you could be looking at GIS Protect, fire.ca.gov, as well as Alert San Diego. Next question is, how did the fire start? It's still under investigation right now. However, we do have investigators out there looking at the sites, and that is it at this moment.
We have one more question for law enforcement. Okay. That looks like all the questions that we've received from our chat that we can currently answer. Our plan is to continue these meetings. Please watch on the social media platforms for CAL FIRE San Diego unit, as well as the San Diego County Sheriff's Office, and we will continue to update you with the most current information. Thank you very much.